Hey everybody, we're getting ready to get that information all tenants need to know about how they can purchase their own home. Let's get ready for it. All right, welcome back to the channel, the Juice Radio and Talk Show. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel because we've got a lot of great information that's going to help you out there, okay? Today we are talking about our Money Monday series. This is for tenants. The segments that we're going to be bringing to you are going to be for tenants to help them becoming homeowners. So if you're a tenant out there and you're wondering how you could become a homeowner or you have a dream of home ownership, you want to subscribe to this channel, the Juice Radio and Talk Show. Make sure that when you go on YouTube or Facebook, you look for the red mug and our logo, the Juice Radio and Talk Show, so that we could get this information out to you, okay? This is our logo here, the Juice Radio and Talk Show. We're about to get you some information to help you go from being a tenant to becoming a homeowner, okay? Also, remember to click like, click share, and click subscribe. Get your notepads ready because we're about to give you some information, okay? Again, my name is Regina. I'm the host of the Juice Radio and Talk Show. My husband and I run a business here that we help property owners to purchase homes, investors to purchase homes, and also we help tenants who are their tenants of the properties that the investors own. We help these tenants to not only be great tenants, you need to be a good tenant, okay? But also we help the tenants to become fabulous homeowners, okay? So we don't want tenants to get stuck in tenants status. We have goals that my husband and I have that we want tenants to also become homeowners. Oftentimes, tenants will end up being a tenant for way too long. You need to have your own home ownership. Sometimes tenants think that they can't become a homeowner. They think that it's too far off for them. They think they don't have enough money to put down. They think they can't save enough money. Various things that goes through a tenant's mind as to what stops them from becoming a homeowner. The reason why I created my Money Monday series, and I'm going to be talking to tenants for the next few weeks, is because I want tenants to change their mindset. I no longer want you to think as a tenant. I want you to now start to think as a home owner. You can do it. You may not have been given the tools that could help you with the process, but here I am now to do that for you, to give you those tools and tips and guidance. Thank you, Holy Spirit. That guidance that you will need to become a home owner, okay? If you missed some of our previous episodes, just go on back. It's easier to find it on our YouTube page, the Juice Radio and Talk Show, and then you could look for our Money Monday series, okay? We also have a fabulous website that is being created right now. We're updating some information. Once that website is complete, we'll go ahead and put that information in the description so that you can have more access to the tools and resources that we're going to have for you. I want to take the time to thank my sponsor, Walford Properties. That's WALFORD Properties. They're the sponsor for this program today. Walford Properties are a registered real estate brokerage firm right here in the state of Georgia, but we're not limited to Georgia. Walford Properties can help you with your home search all around the U.S. So if you're looking to purchase a home and you want information about a great property, why don't you contact Walford Properties today? Their information is in the description there, okay? All right, let's get started. So today I'm talking to you about this. Do I need to be nice to my landlord? Yes. Now, I want to share this with you because there's a lot of people who feel as though they do this. Now, mind you, I work with tenants and property managers and landlords, real estate agents. I work with all of that on a daily basis, okay? I'm a business manager. I help people to create businesses here in the United States. I do all of that good stuff. I work with foreign nationals. I work with investors. I do all of that good stuff. But I hear all sides, okay? I talk to landlords. I talk to real estate agents, real estate brokers, property managers. I talk to tenants. I talk to liaisons. I talk to lawyers. I talk to judges. I talk to mediation people. I talk to everyone. So I got a lot of ins and outs in this whole process with tenant landlord relationships, okay? And I want to try and help some tenants to understand the importance of being nice to your landlord. Now, I know some of you might say, well, some of these landlords are mean and they're nasty, and why am I going to be nice to them and they're not nice to me? Listen, let all that go, because the goal is not to try and outdo your landlord in an argument. That's not the goal. The goal, Goal, the goal for you as a tenant is not to remain a tenant. It's for you to someday, and someday soon, I would hope, become your own homeowner. Listen, you don't want to get stuck in staying in somebody else's house, being told what color you could paint the walls or not paint the walls, being limited to who you can have over as a guest on your house, to the property you're living in, and being told constantly about, things that you probably don't agree with. You don't want to be stuck in that. You want to be able to put a nail in your wall and put your picture up the way you want it, right? So if you want to do that, you're going to have to find some tricks and tools to make your landlord happy. Because yes, you're going to need your landlord to be happy when it comes time to get what the lender requires, and that's verification of rental status. Okay, let's talk about this. Now, when you apply for a property, let's say you've got all your stuff together, and if you don't know what those things are, you want to go back on my channel here. It's easier to look on my YouTube channel, The Juice Radio and Talk Show. Look for the Money Monday series, and you have some tips there. We're updating some more information, so more videos will be added. So if a video is not there today, it doesn't mean that it won't be uploaded tomorrow. So go back and take a look at this stuff, so that each day that we'll have some more information for you, okay? But when you are ready to purchase a property, and if you're getting financing, your lender may require that we get what's called a verification of rent. You may need to get a verification of rent so that they can verify how you paid your rent and so forth or whatever. Okay, that's just for the status of making sure that your payments are made on time, making sure that you can make these payments on time, and how your payment process goes. Okay. So the other thing that may happen, let's say if you're not ready to purchase a home right now, but you then want to move to another property, another place to rent, you may still be required, and that new landlord may request that we get also the same document, which is a verification of rent. It's going to also tell more detail than what the lender is going to require. The lender really just wants to see your payment process, how much you're paying, how often you pay on time, if you had any delinquencies. Your verification of rent for your new landlord, if you're not ready to buy now, but you're getting ready to go to another property, your verification of rent to that new landlord is very, very important, that it comes out a good status. And the reason why is because your landlord verification from landlord to landlord is going to have a little more information than that one from landlord to lender. Okay. For instance, there are some verification of rent that some of the questions on there may say something like, okay, have they paid on time? How many times have they been delinquent? Have you had to file an eviction on them? And also it may say questions like, were they a good tenant? Did you have any problems out of this tenant? Did they disturb the neighbors? Were there any complaints about this tenant? And this major question is on most major verifications. This one question could be the determining factor to whether you get that new rental or not. And that question is this: would you rent to this tenant again? It's on there, you guys. And if a landlord checks no, they will not rent to this tenant again, that's going to send up a red flag to the new landlord. And that new landlord then has the option, if they want to call and have a discussion with that current landlord, to say why. Why would you want to do that? Now, there are some regulations and guidelines as far as what landlords can say and so forth. But the real thing is, whenever somebody sees a no, I know when I see it, a no on a verification of rent from one landlord to me, I know, okay, this is a red flag. I may want to use a little more caution with possibly thinking if I want to rent to this tenant or not. And the reason why you may have a no on your verification of rent form is because there may have been some issues that your current landlord had with you that they weren't too happy about. So that's one of the reasons, and one of the major reasons, why it's very important that you have a friendly relationship with your landlord. Now, here's what some of you do, and I don't understand why y'all do this, but this is what some people do. They decide to be very nice when it's time to fill out the application. They're very nice, and they're very kind, and they're very considerate, and they're very la 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 nice. And then they get the approval. And we're like, okay, we're going to accept you as a tenant. You seem like you're very nice. Seem. You seem like you're a wonderful person. You seem like you'll be a nice tenant. And you promise you're going to make your payments on time. And you promise you're going to be the best tenant. And you promise nobody else is going to be a better tenant than you. And you make all these false promises. I'm talking to some people for real. And here's what happened. The landlords, they approve you. You get the property. You get in the property. And as soon as some of these tenants get the keys to the property, they start showing the other side of them. Here's the thing. If you've got some issues that you want to discuss with your landlord, let's say you get into the property and it's your first time there and there's some things that came up with the house that you don't like, some things you want fixed, you put in a request, know this. Give your landlord time to get the things done. And also give your landlord the time to contact you back. Just because you're able to call your landlord in 5 minutes does not mean that your landlord may be able to call you back in 5 minutes. Remember, it's a business that they're running, especially if the property is being managed by a property management company or a real estate firm. They may not have the speed and capacity to call you when you want, okay? So just understand, leave a message, call, leave a message, send an email. Some tenants have the ability to have a tenant portal where their landlord has set up where they can go online and put in their repair requests and put in conversations that they would like to have with their landlord right there on the tenant portal. Go ahead and use those options that you have, or either email your landlord. But in this whole process of you communicating with your landlord, be considerate and kind, because you want to keep the landlord and tenant relationship a nice one. You don't want to have it to be one where the landlord is now regretting that he rented you the property, and you probably or maybe upset because something happened in the property and you feel like your landlord is not taking care of it. There are good ways to take care of things and there are wrong ways to take care of something. But again, back to the topic, do I need to be nice to my landlord? I always recommend to people, yes, you need to be nice to your landlord, because you may not think that you would need your landlord in the future, but oftentimes you will. And it's best to have your landlord to be on your side when you need them than for your landlord not to be on your side, okay? Because you might find that beautiful place that you like, that you want to move out of this landlord's property. Maybe you had bad relationships with them and you just want to move. Or maybe you just see it's time for you to move and you saw a nice place, you want to get it. If you had a bad relationship with your landlord, that could deter you from getting that new place. It could. So you want to be real careful with communicating with your landlord. The other thing that you want to do is you also want to keep communications professional. Keep the communication with your landlord as professional as possible and keep the attitudes out of it. Okay. It doesn't matter to me how bad a landlord behaves. I think that tenants should oftentimes maintain their professionalism, even if some landlords don't. Now, the reason why I say that is because there are a lot of landlords that are self managing their properties, meaning they're the owners of that property. They have not hired a management company to manage it, they have not hired a professional like a real estate firm or something to manage a property for them, and they're just doing this on their own. So they may not have the professional skills that the property manager or real estate firm may have. So when you're communicating with them, it may be a whole different ball game than when you're dealing with a professional firm that manages the property. But in any instance, you want to make sure that you keep yourself in a professional manner. There may become situations where conversations may get heated. You may want to withdraw for a moment, get yourself together, and come back and have another conversation. Okay. But the main thing is you want to keep yourself as professional as possible when it comes to communicating with your landlord. Because again, you may need something from them. A lot of times tenants forget their leases. I had a tenant that emailed me today and said, "Can you send me a copy of my lease?" Sure, I can send a copy of the lease, but here's the thing. If a tenant had been nasty to me the whole time, why would I? I'm not required by law to give them a copy of a lease that they already had a copy of. Okay? I'm required to give you a copy when you sign. What you do with your copy after that is your business. So it is not a landlord's responsibility to keep giving you copies of documents that you're misplacing. Okay. So understand that. The other thing is, if you want to have your landlord to cooperate with you, then make sure that you maintain a friendly relationship with your landlord. So this tenant, I'm going to send them, the document they're requesting. She's a very nice tenant, and I have no problem. I'm going to go ahead and send it to them. But I said that to say this. You may have times when you're during your lease with the property that you're in, that you may have to have your landlord to give you copies of documents, or you may want to call in a repair request, or you may just have questions, or you right, Holy Spirit, or this, you may even want to purchase that property one day. And if you have not been nice to your landlord, then how in the world would you be able to have them to do something for you? So how would you do that? So what you have to do is you have to make sure that you keep a good relationship with your landlord, okay? So if there's anything that you need, you might need to have some work done, or like I said earlier, you may want to purchase the property. And a landlord will be very happy, most landlords anyway, I'll say, will be very happy to sell their property to the tenant that has been paying them on time, that have not been giving them any hard time. And they're probably also want to help you with assisting with maybe giving you a great price on the property, or assist you possibly with closing cost fees that you might be required to pay from your lender. Okay. So you want to keep a good rapport with your landlord. Okay. I understand. Again, I want to say this again because I believe it deserves repeating. Sometimes there are situations and communications that come up where it's difficult to have a real professional conversation. And sometimes people get into these arguments. You have to know when to say, let me call you back. Let me think about this. Gather yourself together and then have the conversation with your landlord. If you feel as though you cannot communicate effectively with your landlord because you feel your landlord is the one that's not communicating professionally with you, then you may be required to ask someone else to help you as a mediator to be able to communicate with the landlord. Now, caution. When I say a mediator, I mean someone who has a calm manner, that regardless what conversation come their way, they can handle it in a calm situation. And they're not going to allow the landlord to get them out of their calm nature. That's what I mean when I mean a mediator. And it could be a friend, it could be a church friend, a pastor, somebody, just somebody that's going to have that calming atmosphere about themselves, that's not going to let themselves be pulled into the argument with the landlord. And then worst case scenario, if you're not able to communicate effectively with your landlord, and not through the means of a mediator, you're not able to communicate effectively, then unfortunately you may then have to seek more help, which is probably in the legal realms. Okay. But the main thing is, if you can't communicate verbally with them, you may want to go into sending text messages or emails, or if you have access to that tenant portal, go ahead and go in the tenant portal and have your information on there. It's always a good suggestion to have your suggested conversations on written anyway, emails, text messages, tenant portals, because that way you have a written transcript of when you asked for this item to be done, and dates and times and all that, and exactly what was said, so that there cannot be this thing called hearsay in the situation. Okay. But you need to be nice with your landlord, okay? Because eventually you will need to have their assistance. And again, when it comes time for you to renew your lease, your landlord has the option to either not renew your lease, or he has the option to renew your lease. And a lot of times that's going to be determining on many factors. But one of the main factors that I have seen what landlords do if they don't renew a lease is simply because they may not have had a good relationship with you as a tenant. And so they may then want to just go ahead and cancel their lease with you, or not extend or renew your lease because of that. Most people will say, well, I paid on time. I paid on time every month. The only thing is, yeah, we had arguments or we had disagreements, or, so, but I paid on time. To landlords, that's not always key to maintaining you as a tenant just because you paid on time. It's not. A landlord, really, they do want the money and they want to pay it on time, but they also want good tenants. Okay. I have seen some landlords that have gotten a tenant in a place, and shortly after they got them in the place, they said, listen, we're going to end this landlord-tenant relationship. And they give them a notice that they need to cancel and terminate their lease. So you want to be careful with the communication when it comes to you and your landlord. Okay. Now, I wrote this down and I want to share this with you. Okay. If you want to buy a home, if you, tenant, want to buy a home in the future, or you're planning to buy a home, you are going to need your landlord's approval if your lender is going to request a verification of rent form. And what's on that verification of rent form could be very important to help you with the process in purchasing your home. But also, if you're going to rent another property, the new landlord may require that same form in a different format, because now it's going to be landlord to landlord and not landlord to lender. So that landlord to landlord verification of rent form is very important in determining if you would get that new property. You might say, well, the landlords don't really say, that I did this or I did that. You'd be very surprised at some of these things that come across on some of these documents from landlord to landlord, and some of these private conversations that come up. And you may say, well, why would my landlord, if he doesn't want me to stay, why would he tell them all this stuff that we did? If he wants to get rid of me, why not just tell them nothing? Because landlords will protect other landlords, even if it means they end up keeping you in that property and they really want you to go. But they want to also protect other landlords, and they want other landlords to know what they're about to get. So they do. Okay. The legal realms of all of that, y'all can check with legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. I am a business manager telling you my perspective from a landlord's point of view. Okay. The other thing I want to let you know is, when you become a tenant of a landlord, if they're not your friend before you sign the lease with that landlord, then you need to understand that when you sign a lease with a landlord, they are not your friends. They are your landlord. That is a business relationship. It doesn't matter how much you smile and are happy with them and kiki with them and, oh, how was your weekend and blah, 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 and all of this kind of stuff. That is still your landlord. You have a business relationship with them. And you have to understand, and I always recommend to people to keep it at that. Keep it at a business relationship. The problem happens with a lot of people when people take a business relationship and try and turn it into a personal relationship. And that's when a lot of the problems can take place, because now you want to enter into a friendly relationship when it's really a business transaction. And people's feelings and emotions get hurt when they consider and start thinking, well, we're friends now. We started out as landlord and tenants, but you're my friend, or the property manager, she's my friend. We're buddy buddy. But when it comes time to having to do the business aspect of the deal that you as a tenant may not be happy with, then you would now get upset because you thought it was a friendly relationship or a friendship relationship. It is always to be maintained as a business relationship, okay? Because the friendly and the personal aspects of it will stay out. Now, if you move out of that property and into another property, and you come and you say, hey, we're no longer business relationship, I've moved into a whole nother property, and you want to have a friendship with that individual, then I would say go ahead and do that, because now your business relationship is now broken, it's done, it's over with, and now you can have that friendship relationship. It's very, very scary when people have a business relationship and turn it into a friendly relationship, because it's very fine lines with that, and things can get really crazy and chaotic with that whole process. It's kind of like businesses when they say you can't fraternize with the coworkers, or you can't date coworkers. There's a reason for that, because they want you to maintain a business status while you're there and not have it to get into something else, because when it goes into friendliness, then it goes into more personal, and then personal feelings and personal reactions are entered into it, and it can complicate the business part of it. Okay, so if you have a landlord and you feel like they're not being like your friends, it's not anything against you. It's just that a lot of these landlords, like myself, have learned that we have to keep the business side and the personal side separate. Okay, we could still be nice to one another. We still are professional with one another. But if we don't accept your invitation to come over, have dinner, and go out to dinner, and go to all the parties and all that stuff that you may have, please don't take offense to it. Just understand that some of us have grown to know that we have to maintain a business relationship at all times when it comes to the tenant and the landlord relationships. Okay, so I want you to understand that. But back to the topic again, do I need to be nice to my landlord? Yes, you do. And here's why. Because down the road, and even during the process of you renting that property, you want to make sure that you keep your landlord happy, because you never know when you may need to call upon your landlord for something. And if you had a bad relationship with your landlord, then you might have a bad outcome or response when you actually need your landlord to help you. All right. Join me again as we have more of these topics on our Money Monday series. And also remember, if you're looking to purchase a property, or maybe you're looking to rent somewhere, go to walfordproperties.com and find out what they have. But remember, Walford Properties is not your friend. They are your business real estate brokerage firm that's going to help you with the business you need of purchasing your new home. We do it with a friendly atmosphere, but it's all in business mode. Thank you for joining me today, and make sure you share this video. Click, share, and click subscribe. And we'll see you again next week. All right? Stay tuned. Put that notification button on so that you'll know when we go live again. Thank you for joining us today. Have a great day. Bye.